Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive with us.
Always a pleasure.
Today, we're going to be tackling a pretty big concept,
Oh, yeah.
salvation, but through a specific lens,
Okay.
the lens of charity.
Interesting.
And for this one, we're going to be looking at Allan Kardec's The Gospel According to the Spirit.
One of the greats.
Yeah.
For sure.
And what I think is so fascinating about this book
Yeah.
is how Kardec will take these biblical passages, things we've all heard,
Familiar stuff.
from the Gospels,
Yeah.
and he adds in his own spiritist commentary.
So we get
So we get this really unique blend
a blend.
of traditional Christian thought,
Yeah.
but with this spiritist twist.
I like it.
And one of the things that really caught my eye
Okay.
while I was prepping for this
Yeah.
was how Kardec connects this whole idea of salvation
Okay.
to the parable of the Good Samaritan.
That's a really interesting connection that he makes.
It is.
Yeah.
So where does he start? Well, he starts by diving into Matthew 25.31466.
Okay.
This is the part where Jesus separates the sheep from the goats.
Right. The righteous from the unrighteous.
At the final judgment.
Heavy stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And what always gets me about this passage
Uh-huh.
is how Jesus is really focusing on actions,
Yeah.
not just beliefs.
He's not talking about what you believe.
Yeah.
He's talking about what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's talking about feeding the hungry,
Clothing the naked.
visiting those in prison.
It's all about action.
It's all about what you do.
Not just what you say you believe.
Not
And this is really where that Good Samaritan parable comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus tells the story
Yeah.
in response to the question, who is my neighbor?
Right.
And, this lawyer
Trying to limit his responsibility.
trying to limit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Jesus blows that wide open,
Totally.
showing that,
Anyone,
anyone in need is our neighbor,
regardless of background.
regardless of belief.
It doesn't matter. So the Samaritan,
Yeah.
who goes out of his way to help a total stranger,
Right.
becomes like the model for this kind of active charity.
That leads to salvation.
Yeah.
And Kardec takes this even further.
Oh, really?
He argues that charity isn't just one condition for salvation among many.
Okay.
He says it's the sole condition,
Hold on, wait.
the absolute cornerstone.
So is he saying that all the other stuff, like the 10 Commandments,
Yeah.
that doesn't matter as much as just being charitable?
It's not that simple.
Okay.
Kardec sees charity as the umbrella
Okay.
that encompasses all those other virtues.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
True charity requires humility, kindness,
Yeah.
justice.
Forgiveness.
All of those things stem from a genuine love for your neighbor.
So it's like charity's the root system,
Yeah.
and all those other virtues,
Yes.
the branches growing out of it.
It's all connected.
But how does this tie back into, loving God?
Right. That whole love God with all your heart and soul thing.
Right.
Where does that fit in?
Well, Kardec points to Matthew 22,
Okay.
where Jesus is asked about the greatest commandment.
Right.
And remember what he says? It's twofold.
Okay.
Love God with all your being and love your neighbor as yourself.
So he's explicitly linking them.
Yes, implying that you can't have one without the other.
So loving God and loving your neighbor are inseparable.
Exactly.
And those acts of charity become the way we express that love.
For God and for others.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here.
And this idea is echoed in Paul's writings too.
Oh, yeah.
In 1 Corinthians,
Mm-hmm.
he famously says, if I have not charity, I am nothing.
Wow.
And get this.
Yeah.
He says this, even if he had faith and hope that could move mountains,
So even extraordinary acts,
like performing miracles,
they're meaningless without that genuine charity behind them.
it's all about the motivation.
Wow.
And what's so powerful about Paul's words,
is how he defines charity.
okay, hey, so,
It's not just about giving money.
okay,
It's about embodying kindness, patience, forgiveness,
right.
those inner qualities that shape how we interact with others.
He really digs into what true charity looks like in practice.
He does.
So it's more than just
doing good deeds.
It's about cultivating a spirit of love and compassion.
That permeates everything you do.
It's a way of being not just a to-do list.
Exactly.
Now, this is where things get interesting,
Oh,
because Kardec starts to critique certain religious dogmas,
like,
particularly that idea that without the church, there is no salvation.
Okay.
which always struck me as a little
exclusive.
exclusive. Yeah, because it kind of contradicts that whole love your neighbor message.
Right. If you're busy condemning people who aren't part of your specific group.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And Kardec contrasts that
Right.
with the more universal message of, without charity, there is no salvation.
I like that.
And
This promotes unity.
it promotes acceptance.
It doesn't matter what specific beliefs you hold.
Right, as long as you're practicing charity.
You're on the right path.
So it's the essence of your actions
Not the label on your faith.
that matters most.
It's about living a life of compassion regardless of your religious affiliation.
I like that a lot.
And this brings us to what Spiritism itself has to say about salvation.
Okay.
Now, Kardec is very clear that Spiritism doesn't claim to be the only path.
Right.
He believes it's compatible with any faith that embraces the practice of charity.
So it's not about replacing your beliefs.
No,
It's about enhancing them.
through a different lens.
Yeah.
Precisely.
And he sees Spiritism as a way to deepen one's understanding of Christian principles.
Leading to a more fulfilling Christian life.
And it all comes back to that fundamental message of charity.
It does.
And to really drive that point home,
Yeah.
Kardec even quotes the Apostle Paul.
What does he say?
He says, "The true Spiritist and the true Christian are one and the same thing. For all who practice charity are Jesus' disciples, whatever the denomination to which they belong."
Powerful stuff.
It really underscores how charity transcends religious boundaries,
It's a universal principle we can all strive for.
regardless of our backgrounds or beliefs.
It makes you think,
Oh.
if charity is the key to salvation, what does that look like in our daily lives?
But that is a great question.
Does every little act of kindness count?
What are we talking about?
Yeah. Or are we talking about?
Grand gestures and sacrifices.
That's something to ponder.
That is something to ponder, and I think it's something we will be exploring further
Yeah.
in our next segment.
Looking forward to it.
We've laid a really solid foundation here,
We have.
understanding how Kardec connects charity to salvation.
Drawing on biblical passages and Spiritist interpretations.
It's fascinating stuff.
It is. And I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into the practical aspects of this idea.
Right.
How can we cultivate this spirit of charity in our own lives? And what kind of impact can we have on the world around us when we do?
Lots to unpack there. So join us next time as we continue our deep dive into Allan Kardec's The Gospel According to the Spirit.
Can't wait.
We'll be exploring real-world examples of charity in action and considering how even small acts of kindness can create a ripple effect of positive change.
Should be good.
All right, so we're back
Back at it.
and ready to dive deeper into the gospel according to the Spirit.
Deeper we go.
And last time we were talking about how charity is the cornerstone of salvation, according to Kardec.
It is.
But I'm curious, what does that actually look like
In our daily lives.
in our daily lives?
Yeah.
Is it about, those big dramatic sacrifices?
Right.
Or can everyday acts of kindness make a difference?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something Kardec addresses directly.
Okay.
He's clear that charity isn't just about grand gestures.
Okay.
It's about a constant state of being.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a genuine love for your neighbor and letting that guide all your actions,
Okay.
no matter how big or small.
So it's less about checking off a list of good deeds
Well-
and more about developing a mindset,
Yeah, an internal
an internal compass that points you towards kindness and compassion.
Exactly.
It's about being mindful of the needs of others.
And responding with generosity and love. This could be something as simple as
Yeah.
helping someone carry groceries,
Yeah.
lending a listening ear to a friend who's going through a tough time.
Right.
Those little things we can all do.
Those small gestures can really make someone's day.
They can.
But what about the bigger challenges?
Okay,
Like, say, forgiving someone who has deeply hurt you.
okay, yeah.
That feels like a whole other level of charity.
Forgiveness is definitely one of the most difficult,
Yeah.
but also one of the most important aspects of charity.
Okay.
Kardec is clear about that.
Okay.
Holding on to anger and resentment
Yeah.
only ends up hurting us in the long run.
Right.
But forgiveness
Yeah.
is liberating.
Yeah. Well,
It allows us to move forward
on our spiritual journey,
on our spiritual journey.
I can see how letting go of those negative feelings could be freeing,
It is.
but it's a lot easier said than done.
It is.
I guess that's where the real work lies.
Where the real work lies, yeah.
Constantly striving to embody these virtues,
Right.
even when it's tough.
And remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
We're all imperfect beings,
Mm.
constantly learning and growing.
Of course.
Kardec doesn't expect us to become saints overnight.
Oh, that's reassuring.
It's about progress,
Yeah.
not perfection.
Okay, so we don't have to sell all our belongings and live in a cave to be on the right path?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
In fact, Kardec actually cautions against
Against.
showy displays of charity.
Okay.
You know, those done for recognition or praise.
Right.
He says true charity comes from the heart,
Okay.
not from a desire to impress others.
It's about the intention behind the action, not just the action itself.
Exactly.
Which reminds me of something we touched on earlier.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that even extraordinary acts are meaningless
Right.
if they're not driven by genuine charity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Kardec used the example of someone donating a large sum of money,
Okay.
but doing it out of pride
Right.
or wanting to look good.
Yeah.
Sure, it seems charitable on the surface,
Mm-hmm.
but it lacks that true spirit
Of loving compassion.
of love and compassion.
It's like putting on a performance
Yeah.
instead of genuinely wanting to help.
Right.
So how can we know
How can we know?
if our actions are coming from the right place?
Right.
Is there some kind of test for genuine charity?
Kardec suggests a simple but powerful test.
Okay, I like it.
Ask yourself,
Okay.
would I still do this if nobody else knew about it?
That's a good one.
If the answer is yes,
Yeah.
then it's likely coming from a place of true charity.
That's such a good point.
It is.
It's so easy to get caught up in wanting to appear virtuous. Yeah.
But true charity runs so much deeper.
So much deeper.
It's about that invisible connection
Between souls.
between souls, yeah,
That desire to ease suffering
and bring joy to others.
without expecting anything in return.
It's almost like a secret gift.
It is.
And that brings us to another important point.
What's that?
The universality of charity.
Okay.
Kardec emphasizes that it transcends religious boundaries.
Right.
It's not confined to any one faith or doctrine,
That's a powerful message.
especially in today's world,
Yeah.
where there's so much division and conflict.
So much.
It's a reminder that we're all part of the same human family
We are,
and that we have a responsibility to care for one another,
regardless of our differences.
regardless of our differences.
And that care can be expressed in many ways.
Right.
Donating to a cause you believe in.
Yeah.
Volunteering your time.
Mm,
Simply being kind and compassionate in your daily interactions.
it all contributes.
It does.
It's about finding what resonates with you,
And taking action. And taking action.
no matter how big or small.
That's the beauty of Kardec's message, isn't it?
It is
It's not about rigid rules.
Huh?
It's about a way of life
a way of being,
that centers on love and compassion.
and in a world that can feel increasingly complex and challenging.
Yeah.
I think that message is more relevant now than ever.
Absolutely.
So we've talked about the theory behind charity,
Yeah.
how to put it into practice.
Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to hear about people who have truly embodied this principle.
Yeah, okay.
Are there any real-world examples?
I have a couple of stories
Okay.
that I think you'll find inspiring.
That's a perfect segue.
They show just how transformative charity can be,
Even in the most unexpected ways.
even in the most unexpected ways.
Let's hear those stories.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back.
And ready for some inspiration?
I'm ready.
Some real-world examples.
Yes, because we've been talking about how Kardec sees charity as the key to salvation.
Right.
It's not just this abstract concept. It's a
Yeah.
way of life.
It is.
So I'm eager to hear those stories you mentioned
Okay.
of people who are really living out this principle.
All right. Well, keep in mind, these aren't all about those big headline-grabbing acts of charity.
Okay.
Sometimes the most powerful examples are the quiet, everyday kindnesses that ripple outwards.
Okay.
Like this woman I read about who started a little free pantry right in her front yard.
A little free pantry.
It's just a small cabinet, like a little cupboard,
Okay.
stocked with things like non-perishable food toiletries, anything folks might need.
Okay.
And the idea is no questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
Take what you need, leave what you can.
I love that.
Simple, but so effective.
It really addresses a real need
It does.
in a way that preserves people's dignity.
Exactly.
Did it catch on?
It totally did.
Oh, wow.
Other people in her neighborhood started doing the same thing.
That's great.
Pretty soon, there was this whole network of little pantries popping up all over.
Wow.
It created this amazing safety net of support
Yeah.
built on trust and generosity.
And that's what's so beautiful about charity, isn't it?
It is.
It's contagious.
And contagious, yeah.
One act of kindness can spark countless others.
It's like a pay-it-forward chain,
Yeah.
but with real tangible help.
And it shows how much impact even those small-scale efforts can have.
They can.
But what about
with
those
a lot.
situations where people are facing massive challenges,
Okay.
like poverty or displacement?
Right.
those issues feel so huge.
They do.
It's hard to even know where to begin.
You're right. Those are complex problems.
Yeah.
But Kardec reminds us that
Yeah.
even in the face of immense suffering, our individual acts of charity still matter.
They do.
He tells this story about a doctor
Okay.
who dedicated his whole life to serving the poor in his city.
Oh, a whole life dedicated to helping others.
Oh, I know.
That's commitment.
And get this,
Yeah.
he could have easily chosen a more lucrative path,
Right.
but instead he opened up a free clinic in one of the poorest neighborhoods, providing medical care to those who couldn't afford it,
Day in and day out.
day in and day out.
He saw a need and stepped up to meet it,
He did,
even if it meant personal sacrifice.
even if it meant personal sacrifice.
That's incredibly inspiring.
But his impact went way beyond just medical care.
Really?
He treated every single patient with such respect and compassion,
Oh, wow.
taking the time to listen to their stories, acknowledging their struggles.
Yeah.
He saw them as human beings deserving of dignity and care,
Not just cases to be dealt with.
not just cases to be dealt with.
And that in itself was an act of profound charity.
It was.
Sometimes just feeling seen and heard can be just as valuable
As any other form of help,
as any other form of help,
it's about recognizing the inherent worth of every individual,
regardless of their circumstance.
regardless of their circumstances.
Exactly. And Kardec stresses that true charity goes beyond just simply addressing those immediate needs.
It does.
It's also about empowering others,
Right.
helping them to overcome their challenges and build a better life for themselves.
So it's not just about handouts.
It's about hand-ups.
It's about hand-ups, yes.
Giving people the tools and support they need to create lasting change. Do
Exactly.
you have any examples of that in action?
Definitely.
Oh.
There's this incredible organization that provides microloans to women in developing countries.
Okay.
We're not talking about huge sums of money,
Right.
just enough to maybe start a small business, learn a new trade, become self-sufficient.
Yay.
And the ripple effects are amazing.
I bet.
These women aren't just lifting themselves out of poverty.
Yeah.
They're investing back into their communities,
That's wonderful.
educating their children,
Yeah.
breaking those cycles of hardship.
That's so empowering.
It is.
It shows how charity can be a catalyst for real lasting change.
Not just a temporary fix.
And that's what's so exciting about Kardec's message. I
I'm
think
sure.
it's not just about individual salvation.
It's not.
It's about building a more just and compassionate world for everyone.
When we practice charity, we're not just helping individuals.
Right.
We're contributing to a collective upliftment.
A ripple effect of goodness.
A ripple effect of goodness.
That has the potential to transform society as a whole.
It does.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness.
Yes.
And acting accordingly.
We're all in this together,
We are.
and our actions, big or small,
Yeah,
really do have the power to make a difference.
I totally agree.
It all starts with that inner commitment to charity.
Mm-hmm.
When we cultivate kindness,
Mm-hmm.
compassion, forgiveness within ourselves,
Yeah.
we become those agents of positive change in the world.
Wow. We really went deep on this one.
We did.
From the theological foundations of charity.
To real-world examples of its impact.
It's been a really thought-provoking journey.
It has.
And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Kardec's The Gospel According to the Spirit is full of insights waiting to be explored.
So I encourage you to keep digging deeper.
Yeah.
See how these teachings resonate in your own life.
Absolutely. And to all of you listeners out there, keep seeking out those opportunities to practice charity in your own unique way.
Remember, even the smallest acts of kindness can have a profound impact.
It's all about creating those ripples of compassion and building a more loving and just world for everyone.
Until next time.
Keep diving deep.